When you look at the maps that are shown on television, you see that they kind of disappear as they approach the strait, and then they reappear once they're out in the Arabian Sea. Yeah, so thank you. Well, what I think is going to happen is a few of the early risk takers are going to pass through the strait. In addition to those, so far we've seen some Greek ship owners do that, and they make a lot of money doing it. They do have marine insurance coverage, but it's still a risky move no matter what. So they're going to start, and I think others will follow. The other trade that we've already seen reestablished is Iran itself is sending tankers through the strait, and those, as your program just mentioned, are headed to China. So the marine war risk insurance, those markets did return last week. So the ships can be insured, but that doesn't mean they're going to make the run, right? So many are taking a wait and see approach. So they're just kind of waiting inside the Gulf. They're ready to go. They're watching those that are going. The ones that are going so far are actually switching off their transponders. So when you look at the maps that are shown on television, you see that they kind of disappear as they approach the strait, and then they reappear once they're out in the Arabian Sea. So they're doing it. It's definitely risky, and what would help reduce that risk, of course, is what the shipping industry keeps asking for, which is naval escorts. And I think those will be coming, but they're not coming at least for a few days. And by the way, an interesting thing to think about is one reason the United States is letting those Iranian tankers pass from Karg Island through the Strait of Hormuz and onto Asian markets is because that is one of the best ways to prevent there being mines in the strait, because mines don't stop being effective if it's an Iranian tanker versus, say, a Saudi tanker. It definitely is, and that's actually what really stopped the shipping going through at first, because a number of those marine war risk insurance, which are based mostly in London, they said, we're not going to do coverage, and that really raised the risk for the commercial shipping industry. So they just essentially stopped going either in or out. Those markets were reestablished over the last 10 days. We saw last week a few, like I mentioned, Greek ship owners made the run. So some were going to European markets. The Greeks actually ship everywhere. Some of those might be going to China as well. And then we saw the Iranian tankers go through. And India's foreign minister, supposedly, well, according to his Twitter account, that he negotiated a deal for Indian tankers to pass through. So we'll see those start to go. If there's no attacks on those, then I think others will follow. If there's no attacks on those followers, then more and more will go, and it'll start to resume again. But it's really early days still, and so if there are attacks, then they'll stop going. And so I'll keep watching it closely, as will everybody else who pays attention to oil markets. Yeah, it's a good question. Well, so there's a lot of things happening, right? So oil price is a conglomerate of many different factors. So the Strait of Hormuz is a big disruption. 20% of global oil flows are passing through there per day on a normal day. But we did just see this 400 million barrel release across all the different oil-consuming nations that are part of the International Energy Agency. That's the biggest release ever. It takes time for that to happen, but that's a signal to the market that there's temporary liquidity, to put it, in the oil markets. But then also other sources, with the oil price this high, other sources can start to increase their production. So there's a lot of factors at work here. And so it always is interesting to watch the oil markets. The pricing was starting to go down last week, and then it kind of went back up a little bit toward the end of the week, and now it's looking like it's trending down again. So we shall see. The more and more tankers that go through Strait of Hormuz without a problem, that trend will continue. If there are attacks on those tankers, then we should expect a reversal of that trend.